Welcome to the Penny Stock and Cryptocurrency Survival Guide. Before we get into the class itself, I want to give you a little bit of context. The class I put together several years ago, but the key thing here is that the class is about emotions and psychology. And with emotions and psychology, because we're human beings, they've always been around and they will always be around. So what you learn about has been valuable, still is valuable, and will be valuable in the future because we're humans. We're always going to have anger, greed, overconfidence, sorrow, freaking out. All those things have always been around and will always be around. And the key is when you understand those dynamics, as cruel and mean as it sounds, you can leverage those dynamics against other people. If you understand how other people are feeling, how other people are viewing different circumstances, then like I said, you can leverage that to put profit in your pocket. Yes, that sounds mean, but that's how the financial markets work. It's understanding how other people are feeling and believing and then using that to your advantage. The other note is that this course is based around penny stocks, but please realize this for you crypto traders. Anytime I say the word penny stock, you realize that you can and should replace that with a cryptocurrency. Anytime I'm talking about an exact penny stock, please realize you can and should insert in any sort of coin that you may be looking at, because the emotions and psychology is a perfect parallel between penny stocks and cryptocurrency markets. And it's a way that you need to go into surviving penny stock trading, crypto trading, or maybe you're going to do both. But you better understand how what I call the wilderness works, because if you can understand the wilderness, you're going to give yourself a way better opportunity to make money as a whole. So let's go to my desktop and let's get into the class. As we wrap up the course here, this will be the final presentation before just a simple little conclusion video. But we've talked all about belief, and we know that belief is measured by the amount of Kool-Aid. So we need to figure out how are we going to read the Kool-Aid gauge. We've never really talked about that. How do we know how to measure the belief? How do we know how to measure when this is potentially right around the corner of happening? So that's what this video is going to be about. There's many options of how we can read the Kool-Aid gauge, how we can measure belief. So that's what this is all going to be about. We're going to examine some different ways that this can be accomplished. At this point, you have the confidence. You know how the penny stock market works from beginning to end. You know all the characters, you know all the tactics, you know the cycle, you know all the emotions that are a part of it. There is nothing you don't know. I don't know how long the course is at this time, but we're talking multiple hours. You've sat here and listened to everything unfold. We've been hanging out for a while now. You're sick of my voice, but now the ball's in your court. We mentioned the Kool-Aid gauge, and this is kind of representing where you stand right now. You can make it as complicated as you want, or you can make it as easy as you want in terms of how you're gonna measure the Kool-Aid, how you're gonna measure the belief. Now, some things to consider here, how much or how little do you want to do the measuring? That's what's gonna, be a key thing there. Do you want to do a lot of stuff for measuring, or do you want to do very little when it comes to measuring? You obviously want to measure. You should want to measure. But in terms of measuring, there's going to be a difference between how much or little that you do in doing this. And we'll get more into that. But that is the one thing you want to do, just the want. What do you want to do? The next is, what are your strengths and weaknesses? I'm just going to talk from experience, and I should say, I'm going to be talking a lot about charts in this, but in no way am I saying that charts is the only way to do anything. This is just me speaking from a personal experience, and it's a way for me to illustrate these points. So what are your strengths and weaknesses? For me, my strengths are, I just like patterns. I like to look at things that just visually make sense. My weakness, I'm a very emotional person. You saw, if you watched the video of my personal journey, you saw that I totally got suckered in. My emotions took over, and I was just totally just an emotional, I turned into a zombie because of my emotions. So for me, that's a big weakness. Everybody's different. Maybe some people are better at controlling their emotions than other people. But for me, emotions, massive red flag for me, massive weakness in my strategy. And of course, this is going to be a key thing. Now, we've already discussed, obviously, the ego people, they're not going to be watching this. The lazy people aren't going to be watching this. So you are going to have to critique yourself. Where is a weakness? But also, build yourself up. What are you good at? What do you enjoy doing? Figure out something that you are good at, something that you enjoy to do, and avoid the things that are weak, that have weaknesses. Some of these things just wouldn't work for me for the very reason alone that, I talked about, even to this day, sometimes I have to smack myself across the face because I'm like, oh, I'm almost getting convinced here. So emotions, just a big struggle for me. So I knew that I needed something that did a good job of removing emotions from the process and eliminating emotions. I'm not saying that's what you need to do. I'm just speaking from my personal experience. I personally struggle with emotions. Whether or not that's the case for you, that's you would know that better than I. Now, the first thing was how much you want to measure. Now, you can want a lot of things, but on this opposite side of the coin, how much can you afford? So how much can you afford to do? And I'm talking about from afford from a time perspective, not necessarily monetarily. So you may want to do all this stuff, but if your time doesn't allow for it, then you have to consider that in terms of, what sort of measuring mechanisms are you going to use? Again, I don't know what your schedule is. I don't know what your personal life is. Again, for me, and I want to keep saying this because I don't want people to say, oh, you're just trying to cram charts down my throat. No. For me, charts made sense because once I learned them, they're very time efficient. I can go spend time with, my family, my wife, and at this point in time, my daughter. And, I can do that stuff. It allows me to do it because it's a very time efficient process. Would I love to do some of these other things? Absolutely, because I get a kick of it. Would I love to, just read through every single stinking post on a message board forum so I could watch the penny stock cycle, come and go? Yeah, but I just don't have time for that stuff at this point in my life. Maybe you do, and it's great. But for me, I don't. So that's another thing that you're going to have to factor in when you figure out, how do you want to measure the Kool-Aid is how much time do you physically have? I mean, there's 24 hours a day, so you got to make it work somehow. And most importantly, that's why it's yellow. What do you feel comfortable doing? That's the only way there's ever going to be any success. The amount of money you have, the experience you have, all that stuff. That's why, when people tell me, tell me how to make money. Well, the best way to make money is doing it in an area where you feel comfortable doing it. You can be as confident as possible that how something works. In this case, how the penny stock market works now. But if you're still going to do stuff that you're not comfortable with, then psychologically, it's not going to work. Confidence, that's a huge part of the equation, don't get me wrong. But another part of the equation is you have to find something that you are comfortable with from a personal risk tolerance. If you're doing something where you feel like the risk is too much, then you're gonna drive yourself insane. So and that's why I can't sit here and tell you how to do it, because I don't know how you are psychologically. I don't know where your personal risk tolerance is. Some people would look at me and say, you are so conservative. I mean, what? I mean, that makes no sense. Other people would look and say, man, you are one risky person. Are you kidding me? But that's what makes the world great. We are all different. And but that's the key. We got to figure out something. We need to figure out, or I should say, you need to figure out a way that you can measure the Kool-Aid, measure the belief. But this way needs to fit into your schedule. It needs to fit into your strengths. It needs to avoid your weaknesses, and it needs to go along with how much or little you want to do of something. So ways to get paid. We're going to get paid by belief. So we need to be able to measure belief, though. So these are some ways that you can measure belief within the world of message boards. You can follow promoters, message boards. You could become a social media master. You can do some fundamental research, get your hands dirty. You can do or follow technical candlestick charts. All the charts that we looked at, those are called line charts, very basic. That's not what I use, and that's not really what technical charts are. I just did that just because, this is not a charting course. This is how does the penny stock market work course. So that's why I wanted to stick with just those line charts so everybody can follow a line. Those are very straightforward. Or a whole nother option you can do to not really measure it anymore because you're putting yourself into it is you could become a promoter, or you could pull out your gun, and we'll get into these different things here. But let's talk about these different ways that we can get paid. So the first thing is you can just follow promoters. Think back to the promoter presentation. I gave a thing that I think pretty much everybody should do. Get the context of the promoters, but you can really take this to another level. I mean, you can get a system, structure a system where you track promoters. It's one where you can say, hey, Clay, this, that, and the other promoter, those people are on their A game right now. These other people, they are terrible at creating belief. Don't even pay any attention. It's not worth it. Some people are just, I call them newsletter traders. They just trade the newsletters. That's all they care about, and that's what they do. They know who's good at creating belief. They know who's a wannabe promoter. The thing with this is it takes a lot of time and effort and constant monitoring. As we've discussed, who is good and who is bad at producing belief, this is very fluid. All it takes is one of those, list burning type campaigns, and everybody's mad at a certain promoter, so now their list doesn't do as well, and it's always changing. So you need to be on top of your game, very time intensive, because it's something where it's always changing. You need to keep on top of it. I'm not saying that's a good or bad thing, just saying that's the realistic viewpoint of how this would work. Is you got to stay on top of things, and you got to know who's working, who's not, who just entered, we're so-and-so promoter. Maybe your so-and-so promoter just changed it to a new website. I mean, you got to you got to become a promoter master in terms of, people come to you and you're an expert on who's the who, what's the what, all that stuff. Again, not saying if this is viable or not, just saying it is very time intensive, but if you can make it work and you're comfortable with it, then go for it. You could become just a straight up message board junkie. You can get to know the message boards inside and out. Investors Hub, and there's other ones out there. Just get to know all the message boards. You can research people, again, go through posting histories. Who is a pumper? Who is a basher? Did an insert an alias name here? Did they all of a sudden convert from pumper to basher? What's going on with that? Insert another alias name. They showed up. Is this good, bad, or doesn't matter? I mean, you can just get in tune with the drama. And that's what you're doing. Bluntly put, you are trying to keep track and make sense of high school drama on a daily basis. Like the promoting thing, very time intensive, takes a lot of effort. You're always reading through posts. There's always new people coming into the message board world. There's always people exiting. Does this person have any idea what they're talking about? Is this person any good at, creating belief? Because remember, you have the perspective. We know what we're looking for. Are they good at creating belief? That's what you want to know. That's what you're looking for. And are people good at diluting belief? So obviously you're going to know who the bashers are, who the bitter bashers are. Okay, that basher, they don't dilute any Kool-Aid, nothing to worry about. You're just going to know everything about the pumpers, the bashers, and all the different dynamics. I mean, you're going to know Clay Trader. Oh yeah, that's the guy that does video charts. Some people think that, he shorts because, their theory is that when he does a video, that means he's going to short the next day. I mean, you just know everything. You're kind of like the person in high school that has, if people are looking to figure out, why is drama going on between this person and that person, they would go to you to tell them. That's pretty much what this is. Very time intensive. Again, not saying if that's good or bad, but it's one of those things where, if you have a family and stuff, I suppose you could still make it work, but, you just got to love to read, and you got to love drama, and you got to be able to make sense of the drama and keep track of it. You can become a social media master. You can just get to know social media platforms inside and out, whatever those popular ones are at this point in time as you watch this, who knows. But it's going to be the same as the message board stuff. I'm not going to go through it again, but the only difference is it's taking place on a different platform. Instead of message boards, it's taking place on social media outlets. So same thing though, you're just making sense of it. Who knows what they're talking about? Who's good at creating belief? Who's good at diluting Kool-Aid? Same stuff, same concepts, just a different platform. You can do some fundamental stuff. Now, as we know, the fundamentals are just pure garbage. All these penny stocks are pure garbage. So why would you care about the fundamentals? We only care about belief. And true, I would agree with everything. However, if you want to keep yourself on the outside and keep observing, but you don't mind getting your hands dirty and going through some SEC filings, calling up the IR and all that stuff, that's fine. The difference here is that all these are stinky piles of garbage and trash. You're taking the course, that, and you're just looking for potential nuggets of info that may lead to a Kool-Aid tidal wave. It's not like you're calling up the IR, calling up the company, and getting hypnotized like, oh wow, what's up. You're just talking to them. You're the one who's actually selling them because you're acting like you're interested. You're just trying to figure stuff out, but you know perfectly well what's going on. So you're just looking for nuggets of information that may lead to a tidal wave. A lot of people are good at this. They dig through stuff. They're like, okay, I see points A, B, and C. These could all come together like this. This is a nice little catalyst here for a nice Kool-Aid tidal wave that should create some big belief. And that's how they measure the Kool-Aid. They figure out they're kind of like a chef that reverse engineers it. They figure out what a good recipe is, and then they look for those components and just kind of wait and meander around, waiting for everything to come together and then create a nice Kool-Aid tidal wave. Thing with this is, again, it takes a lot of time, and on top of this, you need to understand what the heck you're reading and hearing. For me, I will be the first to raise my hand and say, look, SEC filings, I've looked through them, and they are confusing. And not to mention all the balance sheets and cash flow statements and, all these technical accounting terms. I think I mentioned this once. I took a college class an accounting class in college. It did not go well. So it's one of these where you got to be able to understand what you're reading. And as far as I'm concerned, a lot of these filings, I have a very, very basic understanding, but most of it looks like it's a different language. And, so for that very reason alone, yeah, I could learn what all this stuff means, but I don't feel like going to school and getting some. I mean, these things were written by lawyers and accountants and all that stuff. So I'm not saying you need to be a lawyer or an accountant, but to me, I don't feel like going and learning what all that stuff means. I don't have the time, nor do I have the desire to do that. It would be pretty cool, but it's just not realistic for me. And along with that, going back to the emotional thing, I struggle with that. So the last thing I need to be doing is reading through all this stuff and then thinking, wow, this company, oh man, yeah, that's not too bad. And then all of a sudden I start to, force myself to drink Kool-Aid. So I just that's why it doesn't work for me, on top of just not knowing, not having the time. There's also that emotional factor. The emotions have wrecked me too many times. I just want to stay away from that. I don't want to, tempt myself to fall into another one of those, traps. The next potential gauge you could use to measure that Kool-Aid is candlestick charts. For me, this is what I use personally. It's what I'm comfortable with, and it works for me, so that's what I go with. I like it, as I've talked about the entire course. For this, I never have to worry about, needing to slap myself in the face or throw cold water in my face, because with charts, it does just a good job of keeping the emotions out of it, and it's a great Kool-Aid and hypnotizing shield, because, it is what it is. So that's why I like it. And I know I keep repeating myself, but I really don't want to come across like this is the only way I use charts, therefore, this is how it has to be done. Not at all. I'm just comfortable with it, and it works for me. Charts, just a super, super basic definition, but why I like them is, they're all centered around price action and volume. And, technical analysis states that the best way to gauge belief, so in our talks, this isn't the exact definition, but to make sense of, why I use it within the context of this entire course, technical analysis states that the best way to gauge belief, all that is related to the price action and volume. And to me, that makes sense. I mean, if there's belief, there's going to be price action and volume. Now, what direction the price action is going, how much volume, all that is a great, to me at least, indicator, and it makes sense on why that would be good in measuring belief. But maybe you're thinking that makes zero sense to me. Well, then, you know what? Maybe the chart isn't for you, but I think that, I can tell very quick if I look at a chart and I see massive volume and a bunch of price reaction. Okay, there's some strong belief here. What the belief is, how the belief got there, yeah, the chart's not going to tell me that. So if you want to know that sort of stuff, then, fine. But I just want to know, is there belief? How strong is the belief? And, a chart does a good job of doing that. And on top of that, they're very time efficient after you, put in the upfront time. So yes, there is an investment of time needed upfront as you learn how to use them and read them. But after that, it's really as easy as looking at a chart and being able to say, okay, yeah, there's some strong belief there, or there was some belief, but now the belief is starting to kind of mellow out a little bit. So we'll see what happens. Or, wow, that belief is gone. Stage 10 is here. See you later. But it's all done very quickly, as opposed to some of these other areas where you got to do a little bit more reading and research. Again, if you like to do reading and research and have the time to do that stuff, then awesome. If you can make it work for you and get profits, then go for that. But I don't want to be misleading here. You got to learn how to do it. It's not like you just pick up a candlestick chart and you know how to read it. You got to put in some time and effort. How much time and effort, that all depends on you. I mean, if you're a hard worker and you just, bust through the education and all that stuff, and you're very good at picking things up, then yeah, it may not take that long. But that is totally a case-by-case basis. But I do want to at least convey the fact that, there is an upfront time commitment needed. Whereas message board stuff, you just hop right in and you're at it. I mean, you're just doing it. Now, you can never, master it because all that stuff is changing, but, charts, it's not like you just pull up a candlestick chart and it's all common sense. You have to put in some effort and time to learn. Now, this has nothing to do with trading, but I mean, if you are good at bringing eyeballs, then you could, you could consider pursuing this route and diversify your income some. Like I said, I'm pretty sure some people don't even know how to trade, but they're super good at, the search engine optimization and all that sort of stuff. So they're, they build email databases and stuff like that. There is nice money that can be made, but I'm speaking from experience here. The business is more brutal than the penny stock wilderness itself. Just know that. I mean, if you think the penny stock wilderness as traders is cutthroat, the promotion business is, it kind of makes that look like child's play. There's money to be made, but there's a lot more people that think they can do promoting and are entering the promotion market than there is money to go around. So competition is fierce. It's not like you just sign up, create a website and say, hey, hire me now. It's not like that at all. It's just a very, very cutthroat environment. I'm not saying it's impossible, but just know, don't walk in thinking, oh, hey, I went through this course and this person said that promoting could be an option. It's, get your game face on. Not going to say that it's impossible, but it is not a cakewalk. And as much as the perception may be, geez, what an easy job. You just get paid to talk about stocks. That's just not true. It's, it's rough. And then on top of that, if you want to get all shady and start to, get sketchy, the forest ranger or the SEC, they very well may come calling. So that's something that cannot be taken lightly. And then, of course, it is a business. If you're pursuing this, it's not like it's a hobby. It is a business, so you're going to need to spend money to make money, and that includes having all the proper disclaimers and disclosures. Don't be one of these clowns that's running around not disclosing that you're paid, not disclosing that you have shares. Just, if you're going to do it, follow the rules. Get the disclosures in place, to get your disclaimers in place, and just, don't be one of these scumbags. Just do it right, and, that way you can sleep easy at night and not have to worry about the forest ranger, knocking down your door or something like that. And I don't mean to sound like a jerk, but please don't ask me for any assistance in this. Yes, I do some promotion stuff, but I'm busy enough. I'm not here to, become a promoter, or I'm not here to offer, how to become a promoter mentorship or anything like that. I will never create a course, nothing like that. That's not the point, but I am just being realistic and showing, this is a way in the penny stock wilderness that you could make money if you have skills in terms of bringing eyeballs and are willing to, enter the cutthroat environment. But, just don't ask me for advice, how to do it, anything like that. I'm just not, I will ignore all those requests. That's not what I'm here to do, but I am here to just give you an overall view of things and, in giving you the overall view, the honest view. This is a way where you could make money if you so desired. Or you could grab a gun, and if you want to throw yourself into that pyramid, and because you're good at researching and bringing attention, then you could become a pumper. I mean, again, this is just the honest truth. If you could become a pumper, I'm not here to judge. If you want to get inside the penny stock pyramid and, make your presence felt, then this is always an option. It does take a lot of time and effort. I mean, you got to go in there and you got to post and you got to do some research, and then you got to, however you choose to be a pumper, it does take time and effort, and you got to do a lot more than what we're doing as bow hunters, where we just sit on the outside, look through our binoculars, and observe. So, again, not saying that's bad. If you don't, maybe to you it's not work. Maybe it's fun for you. Then, fine, go and do it, because if you are good at it, I'm not going to complain. I don't think any other bow hunters are going to complain. The more Kool-Aid flowing, the more belief. So that's the way I look at it. If you want to do it, if you think you're good at it and you want to spend the time doing it, I'm not going to turn you down. I may not agree with how you're doing it, but I'm not going to stop you because I can't stop you. You're going to do what you're going to do. So I'm just going to sit back, observe, and if you can create some Kool-Aid, create some belief, then thank you very much. And then, of course, we have combos. I mean, the stock market is great. The stock market, one of the things I love about it is there is not only one way to make money. I mean, the options to make money are numerous. If you're able to combine some of these different strategies, fit them into something that makes you personally comfortable, and I want to underline this because this is a key thing. When you want to be comfortable, it does need to be from both a risk tolerance and morality wise. I mean, I could never go and be a pumper that, says, hey, let me help you. I'll show you the way. Yeah, I know the stock's at 3 cents right now, but it's going to $1, and it's going to hit $1 in 2 weeks. To me, that I just can't do that. I'm not saying I'm better than anybody else. I'm just saying for me, that's outside of my personal comfort zone. But if you can combine things, and it's both within your risk tolerance, within your moral landscape, whatever that may be, then that's on you. Not here to judge, not here to tell you how to conduct your business. I'd be a total arrogant jerk if I sat here trying to tell you that there is only one way to make money. I mean, that's just not the truth. Just find something that works for you, that makes you money, that makes sense to you, that fits into your time frame, and then you go with it. The holy grail in the stock market does not exist. So many, I mean, that's one of the biggest red flags. The holy grail of stock trading found, you know, this stock is the whole, I mean, that's a scam. Hopefully, you know, it's a scam. I mean, there is no right or wrong way. And I think that's what's great. If there was a right way, everybody would be doing it. And, you know, it just doesn't exist. And I'll leave it at that. No need to insult anybody's intelligence. So just keep that in mind. You can combine things, you can make things, you know, put together the puzzle pieces however they make sense in your mind. I know you've seen this, but I want to end on it. You know, the ball truly is in your court. Go over these questions, give an honest assessment of yourself, especially when it comes to strengths and weaknesses. Give an honest assessment of what your schedule is. You know, how much time can you afford to do with things? And, you know, how much do you want? Want is the least important. That's why it's at the top, because, yeah, you may want to do a lot of stuff. You may want to combine all these different areas, but there just may not be the time, or quite frankly, it might not be your strength. It might be one of your weaknesses. You know, I love to go and, you know, try to dunk a basketball. You know, I want to dunk a basketball, but that is not a strength. It is a weakness because I can't jump that high. So, I mean, yeah, I want to do a lot of things like that, but sometimes it's just not in my wheelhouse. It's not a strength, it's a weakness. And, you know, I can't afford to go like pay somebody to make me taller or something like that. So, you know, it's just one of those things where, you know, you got to start there, because if you're doing something that you want to do, you're going to enjoy it. But, you know, these other questions, you know, are much more important. And at the end of the day, do what you feel comfortable doing. If you feel comfortable what you're doing, then things will fall into place fine, and it'll be very harmonious. And, you know, the doves will fly out, and, you know, it'll just be a very pretty scene. That's the key. Doing where you can psychologically sleep at night, and that's what I'm going to end on. If you can sleep at night with the strategy that you're doing, then that is a great clue that you are in a good personal comfort level and area within your psyche. Well, I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please do a couple things for me. Hit that like button and leave a comment below, even if you just say thanks. Also, go to claytrader.com/team, and if you want to join my private community that's got all sorts of added benefits, you can learn more at that link, then please join. I'd love to have you. It's very cost effective, and like I said, if you want to surround yourself with other quality, like-minded people such as yourself, then I hope you give it some consideration. But again, if you enjoyed the video, hit that like button and leave a comment down below.